Hunter Greene is proving us all correct, as he is currently the best pitcher in Major League Baseball.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Reds podcast. Locked On Reds is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. My name's Stephen Offenbaker. His name's Jeff Carr. We are lifelong Cincinnati Reds fans. We are lifelong baseball fans. We've been podcasting about this team for a combined 14 years. We love talking Reds baseball. We love talking Reds baseball with you. On today's show, Hunter Greene, best pitcher in baseball. That is right, baby. You heard me correct. We're going to be talking about how awesome Hunter Greene has been. A little bit later, the Reds are back to 500. They are playing good baseball right now. They've won 2 series in a row. We're pretty sure it's because Jeff's wife started going to the games. We'll get into that in a little bit. But this Reds team is playing much, much better. And, of course, there is help on the way. This team is about to get a whole lot better starting on Tuesday. We've got all of that for you on today's show, brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. All right, Jeff, I don't know how else to sing the praises of Hunter Greene. He is continuing to live in the space of ace. He is clearly the most dominant dude in baseball right now.
He is showing that the top 5 Cy Young finish that he got last year without having thrown more than 26 starts was not an overreaction. In fact, it might be a little bit of an underreaction, because everything that he is doing right now is absolutely phenomenal. And consider this, Steve, the triple that he gave up to begin. I mean, was it the second inning, the first inning? I'm blanking on which inning it was, but he gives up a leadoff triple, and you're thinking, oh boy, okay, look, he's had a nice start to the season. This is fun, but now we're going to see a little bit of struggles and how he can work with that. And shut him down after that, and the Pirates had no chance. I mean, the Pirates had no chance after they flubbed their chance to get a run with a leadoff triple. Hunter Greene, and I saw a comment mentioning the split. The split looks fantastic. The split has opened up a new level to his game. We talked about it in the offseason as one of those things that if Hunter Greene can continue to grow, then we really are talking about a chance at a Cy Young here. But it is clear, and EJ Mack was the one that said it. Shout out to EJ Mack on that one. But the splitter has opened up this new game where he can pitch to lefties just as well as he can pitch to righties. But, oh, by the way, there's this third pitch, this other pitch that has nothing to do with the main 2 pitches of his fastball and his slider that a hitter cannot just expect him to not throw to them. Because in years past, it's been obvious that guys were like, we can lay off the slider and wait for the fastball. You can't do that anymore with Hunter. And it has just made him this superstar pitcher that we all expected him to be when he was first called up.
It's been so much fun to watch. Noah Snyder weighs in with this, Jeff, and I totally agree. It's crazy that the unreachable expectations we put on Hunter are somehow being met. They are being met and exceeded. A sub-1 ERA. Are you kidding me?
Just since July 1st of last year, the 1 ERA, we've been talking about that one. That's crazy.
It's wild to me. And you bring up that triple. You know, when that happened, when Fraley, I don't know what Fraley was doing on that play. I mean, I guess he was trying. I don't know. But when he missed that ball, I'm like, they're going to score 1 run here. And the way the Reds lineup has been in Hunter Greene starts, that's it. That's the ball game. They're going to lose the game 1-0. That's really what my thought was. My thought was Hunter Greene's going to throw another beautiful game after this stupid run scores, and the Reds are going to lose. And finally, the lineup came along for the ride as well, and Hunter Greene start. But you're right. I love how he battled through that. It didn't phase him. It didn't change what he was trying to do. He looked the same as he's looked in the other starts this year. It's so much fun to watch. It's so nice to have some pitching, Jeff, that day in and day out, I look at who's going for the Reds, and I'm like, they win that game. They'll be in that ball game. It's what a change of pace.
31% of the plate appearances. This isn't at bats. This is 31% of the total batters he has faced so far this season. He has struck out. There are some crazy numbers on this. And I know that, we talked in the offseason about weighted on base average, the WOBA. No starting pitcher in baseball has a lower WOBA against. He's a WOBA master, Steve. The space of ace is Hunter Greene's to own, and he's a WOBA master.
Are you making up words? What are you?
No, but this is just an easy way of understanding it. And oh, by the way, we're not necessarily talking about like the ultimate best like pitching form of Hunter Greene when it comes to some of this batted ball stuff. Average exit velocity against him is 90, right? That's a little bit above league average. That means he's getting hit a little bit harder than you think. Ground ball percentage is 23%. So there's a little bit of this where I'm like, I'm still being cautious. And as much as I want to say, yes, he is meeting the expectations right now, there are still some hills and valleys that he's going to have to go through this season. But what I have seen right now from him is I believe he can overcome whatever those valleys look like.
So this is not his ceiling.
No.
You think there's more?
I think there's more because he's not keeping the ball on the ground. That's the craziest thing. Like we could see a game where he gets that complete game shutout because he keeps the ball on the ground with weak contact, striking guys out, not walking them either. 4% walk rate, which is half of league average from league average is 8%, Steve. Hunter Greene is walking half that. And he's striking out way more than league average. He just looks all kinds of awesome, but he still has more to give.
So I agree with you. And it's wild to me that we could be talking about he's going to continue to elevate his game. Couple things from the chat just while we're doing it. William House, the Mean Green Machine. Bob Miller, this is a great one. Bob Miller says Greene's dominance reminds me of watching a 1960s version of Bob Gibson, except Greene pitches on my team. I love that. Take that comparison to the house. No, Jeff, I agree. I think that there is still some upside left there. And I also like the effect that I think it's having on the rest of the rotation. There's no way to quantify that. There's no stat I can point to, but I guarantee you that Lodolo goes out the next start after watching Hunter do what he did, and he wants to top it. And I guarantee you that Brady Singer wants to try and top that. It's helping push the other guys. And you're seeing the effects of that the way everybody's pitching right now. Everybody is going out there and is pretty dialed in.
You mentioned Nick Lodolo, and I do want to talk about him more, especially when we get into Wednesday's game. Tuesday's game, because he's pitching in the first game against Luis Castillo, which we'll get into that emotional roller coaster later on. But if you put Nick Lodolo and Hunter Greene together, Nick Lodolo's got a 49% ground ball rate right now, 1% walk rate, and he's limiting all the hard contact. So Nick isn't quite getting the swings and misses that Hunter is, but also Hunter isn't quite getting the weak batted balls that Nick Lodolo is. And so you're seeing this, the whole idea of ace 1A, 1B. That's just how good that Nick Lodolo has been, and he's not striking out people right now. Like, can you imagine when he gets that curveball working on a consistent basis and he's hitting that back foot, getting guys to swing over top of it? And oh, by the way, they're not barreling up any of his pitches. Like, that is the kind of recipe that we're talking about for ace 1B.
Pitching to weak contact, ground balls. This version of Nick Lodolo is just fine with me. He doesn't even have to strike everybody out. Defense keeps playing well and they keep putting the ball on the ground. Lodolo is going to get it done.
But the top end of this rotation, led by Hunter Greene, is just it's absolutely phenomenal. And I believe, look, he did it on the road in San Francisco, so it's a little bit hard to say that he could do the exact same thing at Great American Ballpark. But I think at some point this season, we're seeing Hunter Greene throw a complete game shutout. I do not think that's out of the realm of possibility. And he's kind of flirted with a no-hitter here and there. Like if he just moves a few pitches around the zone, like, yeah, I'm really expecting all three of these games with Seattle. Just a quick preview of our preview, a quick teaser to the preview. I'm expecting all three of these games of Seattle to be really quick because neither team's hitting the ball really well, but both teams can pitch really well. So it's going to be a pitcher's dream to watch these three games. But no, the biggest dream right now for the Reds is how good Hunter Greene has been and how much more we could still see from him.
Absolutely. But listen, it's not just the pitching getting it done. The lineup has finally come around. And as a result, the Reds are back to 500, baby. We're going to be talking a little bit about that lineup coming up next.
The next time you need a good snack, you need Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios fits in perfectly whether you're at the ball game or you're at home. At least I think you can take it into the ball game. They change those rules all the time. But Wonderful Pistachios will fill that void when you're looking for something salty, something tasty, maybe even something with a little bit of zip to it, especially when you're talking about these jalapeno lime Wonderful Pistachios that are already shelled for me like I got right here. Because all you do is you just pour yourself a handful and grab yourself a bite, and you got all the protein that you're looking for. They got a great serving of protein per serving size. You're talking about 6 grams or 11% of your daily intake of protein. Just one handful of Wonderful Pistachios gets that done. Check them out today in your grocery aisle, where you can find out more information on the snack that packs a protein punch at wonderfulpistachios.com. Go get you some. I got some right here, but they're mine.
Make sure you are subscribed. That way you don't miss any of the great Reds content we've got coming your way. Jeff and I with you Monday through Friday here in the Locked On Reds feed. Tim Daniel, every post game, all 162, bringing it to you live about 20 minutes after the game ends for instant reaction to what it was that you just saw. Make sure you are subscribed to get all of that content either on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. All right, Jeff, the Reds, they are back to 500. The team looks like it's turning a corner. A little bit later, we're going to talk about the fact there's help on the way.
Yes.
I think the Reds, here we sit on April 14th. Happy birthday, Pete Rose. The Reds are ready to make a move. Second place in the division, 500 baseball. Help is coming. Pitching's phenomenal. Is everybody excited yet?
I'm loving it, man. Like, especially when you talk about where we were like super happy with Hunter Greene, but we also came to the conclusion that we think that there's more. There's a lot more for the Reds to do. As good as they have been this last week to get back to 500, I don't think they're clicking on all cylinders just yet. The lineup was opportunistic, especially on Friday, where they only had the one home run, and then they had a walked-in run, and the other 2 of the 5 were on one wild pitch. There's so many different opportunities that they took advantage of, but that's not something they were doing in the first handful of games this season. So we're seeing step by step, brick by brick, what Terry Francona is putting together with this team. They're getting toward, and Santiago Espinal came up with some really timely hits on Sunday. I mean, he was hugging the foul line down the first base line. You watch those replays and you're like, boy, if you get the wrong replay reviewer in New York, they're going to overturn this hit. But it was really hard to overturn because he was hugging the line so closely, and he ends up with a couple of RBIs, a couple of key hits, and of course, Elly Cruz with a big-time grand slam on Saturday. Steve, tell me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like with this pitching and the overall mostly good defense that the Reds have, this team right now is one swing away from winning just about every game they play.
Yeah, absolutely. There's not a game right now where I don't feel like, again, if the guys do what they do, the Reds can win the game. You look at what's going on with Elly continuing to show a little bit more pop from the right side. The grand slam was a right-handed, maybe that was, bobblehead driven. I don't know. Did you get a bobblehead, Jeff?
Got that bobblehead power. No way, man. I got there like 2 hours early, and I was about 4 hours late for the line. It was so crazy long.
All right. So look, I think maybe, Elly shining in his moment. That was great. A grand slam, right-handed. I love it. Spencer Steer, while his numbers are still, if you just look at his stat line, yes, I know, but his at-bats have looked better. It's coming. I think he is getting there. Santiago Espinal has played fairly well. You look at what the catchers have been able to do. Their numbers are good.
They are. No, I mean, Trevino and Wins, I mean, they've taken advantage
mitigating
of
the absence
moments
of Tyler Stevenson. So yep. There's things cooking there. And you look around what this lineup is able to do. You look around what guys are doing. I do feel like this team can win on any given day. And I'm excited to watch them each time they come on.
And I think that's the key. Like, there's probably plenty of folks that are still like, but guys, like the second half of the lineup still kind of looks like an easy out right now. And this and that and the other. There's no consistency with the lineup. I will grant anybody that point that's trying to make the counterpoint to us right now. But that's why it's so impressive that they're at 500. I've been saying since spring training, since opening day, since all of it, every Dares will know. All you got to do is tread water, stay around 500. And then when you get hot, you're making money. In years past, this team has like sunk. It's, kind of gotten below the water line. It's been 10 to 15 games under 500. And then it goes on this really hot month and it gets them back to level. And that's all that it gets them. And they can't really make the kind of hay that you need to make to challenge for the division or challenge for a wild card spot. But this is really where you will see Terry Francona's influence on this team, because if he can keep them around 500 and make that run, that's where we're talking about this team doing big things.
They were talking on the broadcast yesterday, Jeff. I don't know if you caught this little blurb. When we get into the roster moves here in the next segment, the next 30 games that the Reds are playing are against teams that are under 500. With the pitching the way that it's pitching and the help that the lineup's getting, you can talk about a prime opportunity to go on that run, a prime opportunity to actually create some separation in the division. It starts Tuesday.
Yep. And there's definitely challenges that lay ahead. I mean, Seattle, I would argue Seattle has the best pitching staff in the major leagues. That says nothing about their lineup. Their lineup is even more frustrating than the Reds lineup is. But I think that is definitely a series where each game is going to hinge on, can you take advantage of a mistake pitch, because you're not going to see very many of them. And that's where the Reds are going to need to get ahead on. But ultimately, what I've seen from this team right now is nothing short of what I expected from them, because I'm not looking at the 2-5 start and saying we know everything about them. I'm not saying that. I'm looking at this last week where they were 5-1 and saying that's the real Reds. That's not the real Reds. This lineup is better than that. And this pitching staff probably won't throw that many shutouts, but they're still going to keep the Reds in every single ball game. And I still think the Reds are close in every single matchup that they've got, just like you said. So moving forward, when we see some guys really break out of the slumps that we've gotten, especially the players that are coming back from injury here soon, we'll talk about in just a moment the roster moves that need to be made for that and give our predictions as to what's going to happen. We already saw one roster move made today with Sam Maul going on the injured list. But ultimately, I still think there's so much more for this team to give that we've not even scratched the surface of what they can be in 2025. This is why when they started so slow, I was like, guys, wait, there's still plenty of season left. And even at 500, Steve, there's still plenty of season left for them to get some stuff done.
Oh, there's lots of season left. And to that end, Jeff, help is on the way. I'm so excited about this next segment. There are roster moves coming. We've seen one already. We're going to wildly speculate what Tuesday's roster might look like. Coming up next. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you can stop just managing your money and you can start building wealth. They have all-in-one convenience. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch Money to check your finances, track spending, and even long-term planning of your goals. You can easily collaborate with your partner. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without all the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. If you can't watch us on YouTube,
you can always listen to us on your favorite podcasting app.
I did the toss. I get to talk. Sorry. If you can't watch us on YouTube, you get and listen to us right on your favorite podcasting app. You can take us into the car with you. You can take us to the gym. You can take us on a walk. You can take us wherever you're going, because we are literally on pretty much every single audio podcasting app that there is. Find us and subscribe. All right, Jeff, let's get into this because I've been looking forward to talk about these roster moves. So before we get started, we've seen one already.
Yep. Sam Moll's on the injured list for a shoulder impingement / inflamed walk rate and ERA. I think that's going to be a little bit because remember in spring training, everydayers will know, we talked about how there was some concern behind the scenes for his slow ramp up, for the fact that he did not show up to camp ready to go. He ultimately got an opening day roster appointment, but he has looked bad. Every time he's come into a ball game, it's been bad. So I kind of want to see them slow play this a little bit, but I believe that this move opens the door. We're going to see Alexis Diaz put on the Major League roster on Tuesday.
So if they do
I'm excited about that though. I don't love the energy I just got from you there.
Here's why. Here's why. Because he's not been very good during this rehab assignment. And I know they're working on
but
things.
He's not going to get his spot. Like they would he's not going to walk in as the closer.
I know all the things you're going to say. Where do you use him? Because I agree with you. They're going to call him up 6th inning, 7th inning, right? Like it's still going to be Pagan and Ashcraft 8 and 9.
It's got
until such time that Alexis Diaz takes that away from somebody.
I would argue right now because of his command issues, and we all saw I don't know if you saw, and I should have downloaded the picture of it, but he had an at-bat in AAA the other day where he threw 1 strike and then 4 balls, all of them in a square in the right-handed batter's box to a left-handed hitter. So you don't love that. But I think that Tony Santiago, Graham Ashcraft, and Emilio Pagan are all ahead of him. And I'd rather see all 3 of those guys get a save opportunity before I see Diaz get a save opportunity here. But to have him back makes this bullpen better.
No, I agree. It does if he's some version of him, a good version of him. Look, here's what I know, Jeff. Charlie Goldsmith was tweeting out about Diaz doing rehab work and the Reds have people stand there to make it more game-like conditions. And, my tweet back to Charlie was, did they put a runner on first base so that it was more like game time conditions? He has got to show that he has fixed that. He has got to show that he can come in and not need to walk a guy in order to get his adrenaline fired up to get through an inning. That has been Alexis Diaz's problem. So you take that problem that already existed before the injuries, and then you look at how he's done in his rehab stuff. I'm a little nervous. I was nervous all last year every time he came into a ball game, and that has not gone away. It's in fact worse, and I need him to not pitch in any leverage of a situation until he can show that he can get the job done.
It's definitely been tough because Sam Moll's been bad. Scott Barlow's not been great to begin the season. So you really need to see Scott Barlow kind of bounce back a bit. But just to have Diaz back and give them a little bit more of a weapon in the middle of this bullpen will be a good thing. But I don't think they should mess with the hierarchy of the bullpen. I remember talking to Lucas Sims about what does it mean to be the closer? And that means you pick your seat where you get to sit in a bullpen. Alexis Diaz should not be picking a seat if he shows up on Tuesday. It should be picked for him. But I think that ultimately this bullpen is going to get better with him returning. But the lineup's about to get better too, because I think it's all but guaranteed. We're just waiting on the announcement now that Austin Hayes is going to be in this lineup. He's going to be playing left field every day, and he's going to be batting 4th. He has looked strong in Louisville. He's been hitting the ball hard, couple of home runs, looking healthy. He's ready to go.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that our everybody's favorite outfielder, Jacob Hurtubise, is going to be sent out to make room for Austin Hayes. That's going to be a 1-for-1 easy swap.
Getting a baby girl coming up.
Baby girl, I'm glad he got to do his announcement at the ballpark before he has to make that drive down to Louisville because he's going to Louisville. Hayes for Hurtubise. That's going to be the transaction there. This is an upgrade, even though we've not seen Austin Hayes taking at bat as a member of the Reds yet in the regular season. This is an upgrade. And do you slot him in at number 4 right out of the gate?
Oh, absolutely. Nobody is taking a hold of that spot right now.
So he's your cleanup hitter. So we're looking at an instant upgrade in the 4 spot right now. I'm kind of excited about this. Hayes looked good in spring training. He's looked good in his rehab starts. And I think he's going to look good when he gets to Cincinnati. I think Hayes and Great American Ballpark are going to be really good friends.
Yes. And especially when you talk about he's going to make the lineup against lefties better. It feels like the Reds are just grasping at straws right now when they face left-handed pitching. So I'm really hoping to see a big jump forward in that, because nobody's taken a hold of the fourth spot. As much as I thought Christian Encarnacion Strand with a good game a couple of weeks ago was about to, he hasn't. And for me, he is at least on the list of consideration. I don't think they do it just yet, but he either gets sent down or put on the IL. Now, the reason that I say put on the IL is because he missed the game on Sunday due to general soreness in his legs and back, which I still kind of think is a let's get your mind right type, we're sitting you down type day. So maybe there's an excuse to put him on the IL when you call it Matt McLain, because, and we're still looking to see reports on how his running test went on Monday. That was basically the only hurdle he had to get across to return to the lineup on Tuesday, but all reports are that's still the plan. So to see him return as well, it's obvious, back to second base, back to hitting right in front of Elly. But the problem is going to be what the roster move is, because I do think that there are a handful of guys, and with all due respect to our friend John Sadak on the broadcast yesterday, he had mentioned that it's going to be a hard decision sending down some of these guys. I think there's an easy decision on a couple of different. You're kind of spoiled for choice.
Yeah, if it's not the CES to the IL move, I'm pretty sure it's going to be Noel V back to AAA so he can play every day. With Matt McLain back on this roster, at bats and playing time are going to be hard to come by for Noel V, and he needs to play every day. So that's the move that I'm making if it's not CES. And if it is CES, then you've got Noel V continuing to fill a big league roster spot and get some spot starts in at bats.
And for the point of being, well, Candelario should play first, and maybe you leave Noelvi Marte at third, there's this other thing that's happening, and that is Spencer Steer is getting to throw again, which means Spencer Steer is going, and he's been practicing throws specifically from first base. So they're going to unlock his ability to play first base, at least for the interim. And then I think they'll still be rehabbing behind the scenes for other positions, but you'll be able to put him there first, and you can really open up this defense and this lineup a bit if you can move him into that first base spot and not forcibly play him at DH every game.
And you have to give a little bit of time and discussion to Santiago Espinal. We talked about him all off season long, just in passing as an afterthought. You, sir, Jeff Carr, argued with me when I said, no, you keep that guy. You pay him his money. He's valuable to have around. Yeah. And look what he's done. He's giving you a nice little streak of good play. And as long as his hand stays as hot as it is right now, 275, 310, 325, not hitting for power, but he is getting on base. As long as he's continuing to do that and he's playing really, really good defense, as long as that hand stays hot, you got to keep running him out there. So I don't think that you give those at bats to Noelvi Marte. I think if it's not going to be Spencer Steer playing in the infield, then you continue to run Santiago out there.
Santiago Espinal does a thing that, other than like batting average and with runners in scoring position, you really just can't quantify, which he's hitting 333 with runners in scoring position, by the way. But he just figures out how to get that hit when you need it. He doesn't strike out. He puts the ball in play. And if there's somebody on base, he's going to move that guy over, whether it's from third base to home, first base to second, whatever it is. He figures out a way to keep things moving. And that is why, and I've seen some complaints on Reds Twitter and so forth of like people like, why is he hitting second? That's why. The idea is you get TJ Friedel on, Santiago Espinal hits a single, does something, moves him over, Elly moves him in, and you keep the scoring streak going there. But overall, I love what I've seen from Espinal, and I think that defensively, he provides the Reds with some consistency. I don't think he's a gold glover, but I think he's a solid glove. And I think that my take in the offseason of the Reds being able to move on from him was completely wrong, and I'm very glad to say that.
All right, Jeff, we have hit the 30-minute mark here, and it is time to get into the questions and the comments. My favorite part of the show. Let's start things off with a bang, because I see in the chat, let me find it again because these guys are talking faster than I can scroll. Here we go. From the Locked On Pirates feed, Greene was so damn good. He's never scared me as a Pirates fan because we inexplicably had his number. He's different now. Yes, he is. I am so excited. He is going to continue to own this division. I could not be just more happy and higher on Hunter Greene than I am right now.
Honestly, the number one place that I'm worried about Hunter Greene pitching is Great American Ballpark. If he can continue to at least pitch well enough at home, then the games he has on the road are just going to be phenomenal to watch. Pittsburgh, Chicago, Milwaukee, all those stadiums are fine if he's giving up a fly ball here or there. It's always been, what does that fly ball look like at Great American Ballpark? And at least here recently, he has run into some games where the fly ball's not carrying to the point that you don't have to worry about the long ball. And he's not giving up any base runners to the point that if there is a long ball, you're getting multiple runs. Because that's really where you make your hay at Great American, is by keeping the bases clean. And that's exactly what Greene has done. And kind of like looking like overall just in his career against the Pirates, I love that our friend Gary over at Locked On Pirates kind of brought that up, because that's always been a very confusing thing for me, is because he has dominated some division teams, but not the Pirates. The Pirates are kind of the opposite way, but that last start really helped him out.
This from our buddy Jeff Frazier. Jeff says, "Hey Steve, have you heard anything new in regards to Joey Votto he's talking about? Was really hoping he'd be back in some capacity. Everybody that I've talked to says, y'all, Joey is out living his best life. He is not coming to do anything. Here's where I hope the exception is. Secretly, just as the fan in me, Jeff, the true fan in me is hoping that when we get down to Bristol in August for Major League Baseball's showcase,
that'd be fun,
Speedway game, that Joey Votto's around, that he's one of the people that they have, that Major League Baseball trots out there to star-stud the show a little bit. I think that's a possibility. I think we could see Joey in Bristol. As far as coming back to the Reds to do anything, maybe he turns up sometime this year and pops into the broadcast booth and says a hello. But I know people like Joey Votto, hitting coach, Joey Votto, spring training coach, like Barry Larkin does. Like, all that stuff might come somewhere down the road. Joey is out traveling the world. He was in Tokyo for the Tokyo series. He's been in Italy. Where in the world is Joey Votto? Never mind where's Waldo. Where's Joey? Joey is everywhere.
Yeah, I think I would find it more believable if you told me that Joey's got a place in Tuscany. He's got himself a hut up there where he can like look at the northern lights if he wants to go up that way. He's got like some sort of houseboat down on the Ohio River, like whole bunch of different stuff that you would just expect for him to be like this explorer enjoying retirement. The last thing I'd expect is that he'd be back coaching the Reds, at least right now. Like, I give him a few years and then maybe we're talking coach or broadcaster. I never thought it was going to be like immediately from the word go, dude retires from baseball. And oh, by the way, he's back.
Yeah, no, he's going to continue to live his best life. Hey, I sat on this last week. I did a live with Tim, and we didn't get into this, although folks were asking about it in the chat, but I'm going to hit you with it, Jeff. From Adrian, do we see Tyler Callahan or Ivan Johnson anytime soon? I don't think we do.
I think, because you also have to make another one. I think if the move is like CES hits the IL, then maybe you could see Tyler Callahan come up with a corresponding move, or maybe
60 day.
Ivan Johnson.
It would have to be 60 day.
Yeah. I mean, well, no, Callahan's on the 40-man, isn't he?
Right, but I'm just saying they're not gonna start that clock. They're not gonna do that for 3 games. I don't see it. It would
That's
have to
the
be
other part of it.
Prolonged. It would have to be an emergency, is what I'm saying.
The other thing about it is, like, there's guys that are going through slumps, no doubt about it. But do you think the talent of the guy going through the slump is worse than the talent of Tyler Callahan? Because if that's the case, he should be up here. But I don't think that there's a scenario where Tyler Callahan or Ivan Johnson are better than the guys that are slumping right now. So that's the hardest part about, like, looking at a dude down in AAA and saying, this dude needs to be up right now.
Oh, Gary from Locked On Pirates wins the chat today because he says, I just wanted to see what a happy show looked like in case I ever have to do one. That is amazing.
Gary, if you looked at us a week ago, we were going through therapy sessions, so it happens.
Oh,
Baseball
that's
does
funny. All right, let's see. Pierre says, I want to see when Martinez gets going because then we have a rotation given uncertainty of Rhett Lauder. Yeah, Nick Martinez has been, he's kind of been the guy that he's always been. He had that stretch that he had at the end of last year was really an outlier for what he's always done. He's excelled in the back and forth role, the long man role, the emergency starter role, the start a few, relieve a few, that role. I still hope he gets it together. He's getting 21 million of the Reds allocated payroll money this year, and I don't see a move to the bullpen coming for him. Could Rhett Lauder force that issue sometime? Probably. I think when Rhett Lauder's ready, the way things are shaking up, you start that thing where you have to skip some guys because you want them to be available in October. If things are going right and the Reds are looking good and they're winning games and they're competing, you got to start skipping turns for guys to keep them around. Lodolo's not going to be able to pitch a whole season and then the playoffs. Abbott's not going to be able to pitch a whole season and then the playoffs. Hunter Greene, you need to skip a couple turns for him because while we want him to get to 30 this year, we want him to have something left in the tank for a potential playoff run. So I think that's the best usage of Rhett Lauder. There's another wild card in this is what in the world happens with Wade Miley. Does he have anything left in the tank? Could he be that guy that comes in and you start skipping turns using Wade Miley to set up things for the future? Maybe. It's going to be very interesting. Rhett Lauder, I'm glad they're not rushing him. I'm glad that they're letting this take however long it needs to take because mistakes have been made in the past, and I am thankful to not seeing them be repeated now. And if we don't see Rhett Lauder till July or August, I'm okay with that.
And you see probably a handful of starts from Chase Petty. You'll still have Carson Spires to call on later on this season. There's definitely going to be ways to make sure that nobody overtaxes their arm because Tito has been talking about it. This isn't just us trying to spin things or reading tea leaves or anything like this. Tito has said in multiple questions, multiple scenarios, the focus is for later on in the season. That was why they put Matt McLain on the 10-day IL. He's like, could he have gone? Probably, but there's no reason for him to push it now and jeopardize his availability for August, September, and October, because that's really when we want guys to be as good as they can be and here every single possible day and ready to go. I think that Nick Martinez, there's two schools of thought on him because he needs to perform a certain way to live up to the 21 million. There's no doubt about that. But I think there is a certain way that he can perform and still be useful in this rotation. As much as it'll stink to say that a $21 million guy has like a 4.5 ERA, that's still going to be fine in terms of the talent of this rotation because Nick Martinez is more the glue than he is the frame. He's more support than he is the star. When it comes to the rotation stars are Hunter Greene and Nick Lodolo. And I still kind of look at Brady Singer and Andrew Abbott ahead of Nick Martinez when it comes to just the hierarchy of talent. $21 million makes you think, well, that's just silly. And you're kind of trying to pull the wool over your own eyes by saying that, Jeff. And I agree with you a little bit, but I think ultimately he is still very useful to this rotation if he doesn't necessarily live up to that contract.
This is from Natty Ron. We need a bat to protect Elly. And earlier he asked that the Reds trade a pitcher to bring in another bat. I'm more interested to see how this team looks when we finally get to see its real lineup. When it's Friedel, McLain, Elly, Hayes, Stevenson. When that's your 1 through 5, then let's evaluate what this lineup looks like. That's probably 2 more weeks away. I saw a great video of Tyler fielding, catching. They had him fielding at the shortstop position with a catcher's mitt. I don't know if you saw this on the video yesterday, but it was, and Barry was like, they're just out there making him be athletic, guys. Don't. But
they're going to have him play shortstop.
Right. But my
first base
point
didn't work. We'll put him
is
at short.
He was moving well. He had range. Yeah. He looked good. So I don't think it's going to be very long until we hear him on a rehab assignment to Louisville to get some at bats. I think that's where he's at.
But like you said earlier in today's show, Jose Trevino and Austin Wynns together have really made this not as bad as we thought. I mean, Trevino's great.
I know it's unpopular, Jeff, but I'm going 3 catchers when Tyler Stevenson comes back for a short period of time. I bring Tyler Stevenson back as just a DH, not a first baseman, not a dadgum left fielder. Get all that stuff out of here. DH. Let him DH for 2 weeks to get his timing and get comfortable, and then he can catch.
Steve, the bad man is gone. David Bell puts Tyler Stevenson in left field. Tito's not going to do that. But no, I agree with you. I think three catchers for that specific strategy does make sense. But also, like, thinking about Austin Hayes, like, as good as he looked in spring training, as good as he looked in 2023, I think we see something more closer to that from him than we see what he did last year, because he's healthy and ready to go. The hamstring strain was a little bit out of the ordinary and not expected, but I think the Reds handled this well. I think that the Reds are handling injuries a lot more differently than they did last year, a lot more conservatively, and they're not forcing the issue, having guys play through stuff and possibly damaging it for the long term. I'm very excited about that, and I really think that there's going to be some protection for Elly. There's going to be some guys that bounce back from slumps that they're currently having, or break out in some cases. But ultimately, I think that there will be lineup protection for Elly, because I have seen, and shout out, he had a comment earlier on in the show. Shout out to Adrian. He mentioned he had an extra bobblehead for me, which, by the way, really quick, standing up on a table in front of a room full of people that probably disagree with me. I'm not really that into bobbleheads. Like, I got a few in my background, but I'm not like a huge bobblehead guy. So when I missed out on the Elly bobblehead, wasn't that big of a deal. Anyway, but shout out to Adrian, because he asked me about the trading the pitcher for a hitter type deal, and I'm not into that right now. I'm not looking to do that.
Too soon. It's too soon. I want to know what this team's really like, so that it can address what's really a need. And you know, you can always use a bat, but also let's pace ourselves. It's April. Multiple comments all tying into this. So let me work through them, Jeff. Danny New says, is anyone else worried about Fraley's play? Ben is in the chat with Fraley is hitting 171, 216, 200. Hard to be worse than Fraley right now. Natty Ron says, Jake worries me. Jeff, I'm right there with him. And I don't know if you're in a position to try and talk me back off the ledge, but I'm days away from saying, yeah, it's time to send him down.
I mean, he's not striking out, you know.
If you're going to defend him, give me it full throated, because I really think if he doesn't turn a corner in the next 2 or 3 games, they should actually look to send him down to Louisville and try something different.
See, the biggest issue is he was already in that bounce back category, right? He was always he was already in the category of he's got to do more to prove that last year was more of a fluke. And he's not. He's not proving that right now. He's making me worry. I'm not in the camp that I believe that a turnaround is coming right now. I'm not sure what he needs, and I'm not sure if we've seen the best that Jake Fraley has to offer. And I hate to say that because his personality is awesome. But
right.
personalities
I was really rooting for him. Yeah.
Personalities
so let me ask you this.
So
let me ask you this. You're now the general manager. You've been promoted. Congratulations. You have to send Jake Fraley down. What's your roster move?
Well, I mean, if I'm sending down Fraley, I'll bring up Will Benson.
Will Benson.
Yeah.
So none of the other guys cooking down there or remotely
I think that
for you to take a shot with.
I think that Will Benson's
you don't keep Hurtubise, for example.
No, I think Will Benson has the highest ceiling of any outfielder not on the major league roster and currently in the organization. The only thing is he also has a really low floor, but I'm willing to gamble with the ceiling a little bit and give him a shot at this. And if it doesn't work, and a shot being like a short shot, like we're not giving him a whole nother season. But I'd say Will Benson would be my guy over Jake Fraley. But Jake Fraley to me, Steve, you, me, Ben Fullenkamp, and Jake Fraley have the same amount of barrels. We just do. And that's the hard part about this. Like, you know me, I love to look for the bounce back. I love to look for the peripherals that are saying changes are coming.
Okay, why would you rather, I like this from Adrian. Why would you rather go with Benson over Ivan Johnson? Like, what's the why?
Just
what has Will Benson? What does Will Benson have on you? That is, I think, where we're going with this. Like, what is happening?
Well, he's far more athletic than I am. No, but I mean, I love the athleticism and everything that he brings to the table. I think you could make the argument for Reese Hines as well, Hines or Benson. I just don't know about Ivan Johnson. He's a guy that's kind of been down there for a bit, and I think he's moved around positions, and I don't necessarily know that he's going to be a good glove, which is what Terry Francona has said he prioritizes when it comes to if I'm looking at this guy or this guy, who's got the better glove. is who I'm going for. So I'm thinking it's either Benson or Hines. I find it hard to die on the hill for either guy in an argument.
Would you
But I'd
entertain
rather
would you entertain when everybody's back, keeping Noelvi Marte and playing Santiago Espinal in right field from time to time?
You know me and Espinal and out.
I know, but he's playing well.
I don't know about that.
I would rather have Santiago Espinal in right field than Will Benson. There you go.
I hate saying that. I don't know. It's so hard because you're arguing, you're really rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic with that. But Noelvi Marte has a super high ceiling as well. The scouting report on Noelvi Marte is that he should be, by all rights and by all means, he should be considered part of the future core of this team. Albeit the horrible 2024 notwithstanding, he's got a ton of talent and he could do that. He just has to prove it. And so I think I give him a chance to prove it. Espinal in right field. I don't know. I don't like that. Maybe I try to make a trade. Like I saw that reported tabled trade between the Dodgers and the White Sox, where the Dodgers had James Outman and a top prospect on the table for Luis Robert. James Outman, really, to me, I think any sort of equivalent on the Reds would probably be Noelvi Marte. So would you give up Noelvi Marte and let's say Noelvi Marte and Sal Stewart for Luis Robert?
Good Scott Campbell bringing the heat against Reese Hines. Isn't Hines just right-handed hitting Will Benson? Hines has not been good, by the way. He's got some work to do still yet.
I would like to kind of put this all into a bow. There's not a lot of great options in organization. That's the hardest part about Fraley's struggles, is that it's like, yes, he's struggling. A turnaround doesn't seem likely. But who are you really giving at bats to outside of him and expecting more from?
Here's where I land on this, Jeff. I
don't have,
and it's not a good option. It's just, I think the best of the bad options for me is Will Benson is your last option. I have decided that I know who he is. He is this guy that keeps coming up after being a tremendous 4A player and not being able to hit major league pitching. That's who he is. That's who he's always been at the major league. He's had a couple good stretches, but ultimately he's a 4A guy. He's Stuart Fairchild that's a little bit more flashy. Fine. Cool. Okay. There's other guys we don't know about. We don't know what they can be. I think if I got it right now, I'm keeping Noelvi in the majors. I'm moving Santiago Espinal out there. Maybe I'm seeing if Noelvi can play right field. I don't know, because Noelvi needs at bats. And let's see who he becomes, what he becomes, or we answered the question that he's a miss. Either way, we got to figure it out.
So maybe then that's the opportunity to bring up Tyler Callahan.
And if that's not the answer, then Tyler Callahan, Ivan Johnson, guys we don't know really anything about at the major league level, what they're going to do. Let's get a look, because July is coming. And then I am going to be like, listen, one of these arms got to go. We got to trade somebody for a bat that plays in the outfield, and we know the answer. Right now, we don't know the answer to some of these guys, but I know the answer on Will Benson. So for me, try the other things.
I still feel like I don't know the answer on Will Benson, but I also don't know that I feel strongly enough to be like, let's make sure to put him ahead of everybody else. It's a lot of 6-1, half dozen the other with these guys. I'm not gonna lie.
Josh is saying the thing we're not landing on is that Benson has the highest ceiling of the people that we don't know. We do know. How do you guys not know? How many more times does he have to go 0 for 4 for you guys to say, okay, this is who he is at the major league level?
That game did not prove to me anything.
Well, not one game, Jeff. I'm not talking about one game. Pull up his 2024 numbers. Like, he showed us a lot. The Reds didn't shortchange him last year, Jeff. The Reds did not give him an opportunity. In the calendar year 2024, he played in 128 games, 388 plate appearances, and went 187, 274, 376. He had an OPS plus of, are you ready for it? 76. That's who he is. That's who Will Benson is. It's not a mystery.
Yep. I don't know. My point of it all is I just think it's 6 one half dozen the other. Like I'm not gonna stand on a table and say, give me Ivan Johnson. I'm not gonna stand on a table and say, give me Tyler Callahan.
Give me anybody else. Find me somebody. Look elsewhere. I don't care. But don't live the definition of insanity. That's what I'm saying. There's the take. That's the take, Jeff. No insanity. Not doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. That's what I'm asking of this team right now.
I think the absence of a take to the contrary means I'm not sending down Jake Fraley.
You're not sending down Jake Fraley. Is that what you just said?
I mean, give him a chance to figure it out. I say 37 plate appearances isn't enough for me.
Okay. What's the line then? I'll entertain this. When do you get word?
See, 37.
Because I'm assuming you're going to say that 2024 doesn't count. And I totally can support that. If you want to say that 2024 tells us nothing about Jake Fraley.
Give me till the end of April.
All right. So 16 days.
Essentially just double what we've seen so far.
Okay. All right.
Because I still think that is plenty of time to make up for lost time if Jake Fraley doesn't turn it around. But I'd still rather see him for the rest of this month than get all worried and call up one of the other options. I just don't love the other options.
Ned says, who knows with Hurtubise? We never play him. Well, there's a reason. You look around the lineups to the guys that are getting time, and the fact that Hurtubise isn't one of them kind of.
I think he's a solid late inning, pinch run, defensive replacement type guy. But yeah,
he's okay.
But there's so many guys in organization that are okay. I think we have far more quadruple A players than we have major league players.
Yeah. All right, Jeff. All right. That was actually kind of fun. That ended up being a really good we need to clip that puppy out. That's a little freestander right there. All right. Blake Dunn. What has he shown you so far? What are your thoughts on Blake Dunn?
I like what I've seen from him. I don't know about batting him second. I kind of loved the confidence that Terry Francona was showing in him, but I think he can hit down in the order. Maybe that is the option. Maybe it's just you sit Fraley and you let Dunn play every day. But I like the skill set that he brings to the table. He's faster than Fraley. I think he's got a better arm than Fraley does. I don't know about the power. I think the power is probably comparable. The bat might be comparable. So that's kind of going to be the difference for me, is how much does he hit compared to Fraley. But I like what I've seen from him so far. He made some plays, and Jake Fraley made some plays in San Francisco, but Blake Dunn made some plays in San Francisco, an outfield that is much more cavernous than Great American Ballpark. So that's kind of a test to me that I'm I like Dunn.
Fraley's defense reminds me of, he's been very Fairchild this year, like some really, really good plays, and then some plays where I'm like, did he know the game was going on? What happened there?
Well, the catch that he made in San Francisco was amazing. And then some of the other triples and things like that passed him by, and he figured out where the ball was and he went and he got it. I was like, what are we doing here, man? It's very inconsistent. That's for sure.
Hang on, looking something up really fast. Carlton saying, when has Fraley shown power? Well, he hit 12 home runs in 2022, hit 15 home runs in 2023. He was trending the right direction, and then 2024 happened, which I really just don't want to count. So
the 443 slugging, the 443 slugging is what I'm looking at in 2023. Not necessarily the specific numbers of home runs, but the 443 slugging for the extra base power. That's not lighting the world.
And it was better in 2022, 468 in 2022.
Right. So you've seen a fortuitous drop in that slugging. Can he get it back? And that's what we're looking at, is not the batting average, not the on-base percentage, but the slugging percentage.
Scooby-Doo. Yeah, Scott. They're going to pull the mask off, and it's going to be Stuart Fairchild.
We still got Fairchild after all.
Under that beard, it's really Stuart Fairchild. That's what's going on. Sean Melvin says, man, you guys are chatting faster than I can click. Sean Melvin says Dunn's a great athlete. still think he holds high school track records in Michigan. He has got speed, covers ground. I'll tell you this, he's leading the league in being hit by a pitch. So if he just keeps going over there and getting plunked, that's on base percentage, baby.
Well, and he is 98th percentile in sprint speed this year. Blake Dunn is. So that means he's up there with Elly as far as speed goes. That's pretty crazy to think about. And in a tiny sample size, not big enough to go crazy about, but his average exit velo is 93. And now, like you said, part of that might be the pitches that bounce off of him are going pretty fast too. But ultimately, I still want to see more from him because I felt like we didn't see anything from him. He's gotten more plate appearances. This is the funny thing too, right? Like somebody might say, well, he was up in 2024 and didn't do anything. He has more plate appearances now this year than he had all of last year. That's crazy to think. He's getting more of a run right now.
So Adrian says, so just give Dunn like a 10-game stint, just start him and see what happens.
Maybe more than that. Maybe give him that 16-game sample size to the end of the season.
Just keep running him out
into
there?
End of the month. And why did I say end of the season? Anyway, yeah. It's tough because the answers aren't there for the outfield because the Reds didn't do anything except go get Austin Hayes for the outfield. They got one guy. We said all offseason we like to see two. Even if it was just get me a good guy and get me an average guy.
Right.
But they just don't have the horses for this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the depth is very suspect, and that's really what problem has revealed itself.
As much outside as of in other spaces,
outside of the Jose Trevino trade now looks genius. But that's like really the only offseason thing that has worked so far. Well, and Austin. Well, okay, yeah, that's fair. Sorry, I'm talking about hitters though. Just that's the other piece is just Austin Wynn's willing himself to, in spite of everything that should be happening, be a major league catcher. I don't know what's going on, but Austin Wynn's is doing a thing, and great, good for him. The catching play. I mean, if you want to look up and down the Reds lineup right now, Jeff, I would not have bet any money at all that we see Jose Trevino having started 13 games with an OPS plus of 92, so just 8% below league average right now. And then the games that Austin Wynn's does get in, the games that he does actually get to play, can't find him. Where'd he go? There he is. OPS plus. Are you ready for it?
150, isn't it?
160. So who knew?
Well, he's double machine. Austin Wynn's.
I didn't know, but Austin Wynn's apparently knew. He knew.
Austin two bags. Okay, let's put a bow on the oh my gosh, who the heck do we pick for this outfield thing with this? What is more likely to happen? Blake Dunn is a bona fide major league outfielder, or Jake Fraley bounces back. So I think it's Blake Dunn.
I do too. I don't want to be right about that. Yeah,
I don't want to.
That's it. I don't want to be right about that. I want Fraley to bounce back.
I'm just not seeing it. I'm just not seeing it.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm worried about Fraley. Like, that's where this whole thing started. Are we worried about Fraley?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's clear we are. And it's clear that we're really worried. We're really worried if our worries come to fruition about Fraley, because there is no clear answer outside. Like, I think it's Blake Dunn is your first option. And then after that, you're really just like, oh, you don't know.
So before we get out of here, Jeff, because you're going solo for tomorrow's show, because I got a scheduling conflict. But I want to quickly talk about Luis Castillo.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I feel in my heart about the Reds beating up on Luis Castillo. So I would just like the Reds to win 1-0. Lodolo throw a perfect game, and Elly to hit a home run off of Luis. That's what I would like to see happen.
It's going to be interesting, because we know that this lineup struggles with off speed, and we know that Luis Castillo makes his bread and butter with off speed. So it could be a rough day. And honestly, this series to me, like, I don't know. Do you think that the Reds as a team in 3 games score more than 10 runs? against the Mariners pitching staff? Because I don't know that they do.
So my over under's 10.
Yeah.
I'm taking the
let's
under.
say 9.5.
3. I'm taking the under. I think 9. Yeah.
I usually always say take the over, but in this,
Yeah,
I
you
feel
do,
like,
but
because I mean they've got some really good pitching in Seattle. Like I think it's hilarious, and this is not a new take, and this is just from the outside looking in. But I think it's hilarious that they did not go out and go crazy this offseason and get some hitting for Julio Rodriguez to work with, because they have got just the best pitching in the league. I mean, the Reds are facing Luis Castillo, Bryce Mitchell, and Brian Wu. And all three of those starters are Bryce Miller, not Bryce Mitchell. And all three of those starters are absolutely top 25 in the league. And I feel like maybe top 50, but Brian Wu might be in the top 50. And I feel like the Reds are going to have to match them pitch for pitch rather than trying to out-hit them. You just have to take advantage of the one or two mistakes you're going to get. And that's really what these games are going to come down to, is which team takes advantage of the mistakes more. But yeah, the Castillo one, I'm going to be all up in my feels on Tuesday night. That's for sure.
It's going to be hard. I don't have it in me to root for him to get beat up, but I want the Reds to win. So that's the best scenario that I've come up with. A gem from Lodolo. Yeah, a gem from Lodolo and a good old fashioned pitcher's duel that the Reds eke out one in. I would love for it to be that. And then I would like for the Reds to go beat their brains in the other two games. That would be fine. That'd be nice. But with Castillo on the mound on a good old fashioned pitcher's duel, I could live with that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. We'll definitely preview the series and get you set for what you can expect in those 3 ball games. So make sure you check out tomorrow's Locked On Reds with me, San Steve. And we'll also have you covered all throughout the series on the postcast with Tim. He'll be live after every game, getting you breaking it down for you. And then we will be back the next morning, telling you what it all means in the big picture.
Next afternoon.
Yeah.
Next afternoon. Next morning for me. Next afternoon for you.
Still on West Coast time. But that's because we are Locked On Reds every single day.
Ooh, that was good. That was a lot of fun.
Good to be back live. I love these. Every Monday. Forgot to tell everybody that every Monday.